Welcome to a brand new series where we try to build one machine that can autocraft everything in Minecraft. But before we can actually make a machine that works, we have to have a look at the failed attempts that we've had already. So a great example of a previous failed attempt is this machine. What this one did was basically it would fly with these flying machines up, activate all these copper bulbs that we have along here, before eventually it activated these droppers that we have, and then the droppers would basically drop down all the items into one crafter, and then the crafter would have the recipe and any placeholder blocks that would make it possible to actually make the crafting recipe. So the problem is with this initial design, besides the crazy amount of hoppers that it has, is that we actually have some other issues. So the other problem that I've noticed is that this sort of design, if we were to scale this up, then basically we would have to make more and more and more of these modules. And the time that it takes for all the items to go from the droppers down into the autocrafter, for this size wouldn't be too bad. But if we had something that was stretching off as far as the bigger machine, then basically it would start to mean that we'd have to really slow down the machine in order to actually have the items show up in the correct order in the autocrafter. Needless to say, this pretty much has reached its end of trying to make a machine where it's using placeholder designs for one autocrafter. So needless to say, if we had a design like this where it would have all different flying machines and it would fly and fire off all different modules, unfortunately the size becomes too big to actually fit inside the chunks that Minecraft works in, or also called the simulation chunks. So this design, yeah, it's definitely a non-starter. Unfortunately, that's it. It's the end of the road for that one. And this is where it gets even more crazy with these things. So what I did in this design was I attempted to use a 5-bit binary counter. So basically it just represents a unique sort of series of characters. Now the problem with this is that I very quickly realized that having just simply 5 copper bulbs wasn't enough to actually make all the crafting recipes in Minecraft. So, simple question, how many copper bulbs would you need in Minecraft to actually autocraft all the different recipes that we have? And this is how many you would actually need. You'd actually need 11. See, the problem is, let's pretend for a moment that you had just 2. And all the different possibilities you could have is both turned off, you could have both turned on, or you could have one turned off and one turned on. Alternatively, you could have that one turned off and no, that's the order. Okay, that one turned off and that one turned on. So basically you have 6 different possible combinations, and to have enough combinations to actually cover all the different crafting recipes in Minecraft, you would need at least 11. So basically the whole binary idea doesn't really work, because basically it ends up again too big and it doesn't fit inside the simulation chunks that Minecraft exists in. And that leads us back to this gigantic machine. So the way that I actually fixed it is just over here. Once I get there, it's a rather sizable machine. So how we fix it is with this device. What this is what the original builder called Dragon Samus actually called a red coder. So what this is basically where you use signal strength to represent a different control or a different mechanism or something like that. Put simply, if we were to use our autocrafter to actually control this, so let's say we'd say put in 4. So now what we have is basically the 4th one turned on and the rest of them turned off. And while Dragon Samus intended for this to be some sort of control mechanism or something like that, to turn different switches on or different lights on or something along those lines, what this actually can be used for is what we would call an analog computer. I swear, I'm going to try and keep the computer science section down to a minimum. I mean, don't worry, I'm not going to make it too crazy. I mean, I'm not going to go into quantum computers or anything like that, although it is worth mentioning that analog computers are the thing that are taking down quantum computers, so technically in some respects you could probably think that analog computers are actually far superior to quantum computers. So I guess worse better? But put simply, all that we're going to do with this machine is instead of having something where it can be either on or off, now we can have something that can be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. which means that we can build the whole thing much smaller, which is why this is much smaller than the other design I was going for, which now looking at it in retrospect is actually quite a sizable machine. Okay, so this one has so far some advancements. Now we haven't programmed any of the items in, but let me take you for a bit of a tour as to where we are so far. So we've actually got 4 of these red coded devices, and we're using these as an analog signal for the rest of the machine. Now, how many possibilities does that give us now that we've gotten rid of the whole binary system? Well, about 10,000 different possibilities, which is pretty impressive. It's very impressive. This is why analog computers are going to destroy binary computers like you are using right now. They're just so much better. I mean, it just comes down to mass, and these are fantastic. So all that we need to do is, once we've chosen what our signal is going to be, so say for instance with this one we've got number 2, it goes up to the number 2 strand, goes through this little doohickey here, and then eventually goes out into the rest of the machine. Now, we don't want this always to be on. We want to be able to control when we actually turn on and off the pulse. So what we have down here is a pulse controller. All it does is basically allows for us to control when something's turned on or when it's turned off. So if we test this out just by flicking it on and off, what we'll be able to see if we look down here is basically a pulse where we can actually have the autocrafters get turned on and off. This is the way that we're actually going to control when different items are dispensed out of it, meaning that we can actually have quite a lot of items come out of this machine quite quickly. From here, all these are basically ways for us to understand different signals. So the idea being basically that when we have a particular code come up in all 4 machines, we actually have these ones register a pulse. At the moment, none of it's programmed into any particular items. So at the moment, they all just light up when we light them up, and they're all turned off when we turn them off. So we need to program each and every single one of these all the way down to the very end. And then after that, we need to program all of these all the way down to the very end. And then after that, we need to program all of those. So many here. So in recap, what we've basically done is created an analog computer that's not really ever existed in Minecraft before, and we're now using it to basically drive probably one of the biggest de-encoding devices known to Minecraft, so that we can control a vast army of autocrafters, so that then we can power only the ones that we want, and then have it so that we can control any item being input out by this system. I hope that makes sense. I really do. So once we've programmed all of these, it should mean that we can make every item in Minecraft, right? Not really. You see, there's something that a lot of us are fairly ignorant on in Minecraft, and something that even the size of this entire machine cannot tackle. These. Literally these. So what we have here is a rocket, but obviously we have fireworks as well. Now, the possible combination of all the different fireworks in Minecraft is more than this entire machine can do. In fact, even if I built this machine another 60 times the size, it still wouldn't be enough. So here we have a little handy dandy fireworks tool. So what this is a tool for calculating different recipes based on different parameters for your fireworks. So you can choose different colors that you have with your fireworks as the main base color. Then you can have fading colors as well with Minecraft. You can have 8 of them at any one point on any one firework. Then from here you get the choice of small balls, big balls, star shapes, creeper faces, or the scattered sort of explosion patterns. Then you can have either no effect, or you can have 2 different effects from here. Then you can also choose the flight duration on top of that. Needless to say, there's millions of possibilities of having fireworks rockets, so we're not going to have to include those. But probably a better question is, how many recipes are there in Minecraft? And if you have a quick Google search, you normally see numbers around this 379 sort of idea, basically saying that there should be about 400 crafting recipes. However, that in itself has a bit of a problem yet again. Because here's something to think about. Do you consider these oak stairs and these acacia stairs as two different recipes, or are they the same thing? Many people will say that they're the same thing. They have the same pattern when you go to make them. So obviously they're the same thing. But if you wanted to build with them, well, that doesn't really work. Because if you wanted the acacia stairs, and we had a machine like this to build every item, and you could only get oak stairs, well, that's not really every item. Not only that, but they have a different name. So the reality is, how many crafting recipes are in Minecraft? I'm hoping that there's less than this. Let's just say that this is a very good rough guess that should be enough spots to cover all the recipes that don't include fireworks, because there's no way I'm doing that. That's into the millions here, and I don't even think that's possible. So let's start getting to work on one of the most ridiculous machines ever made in Minecraft. Let's go. What do we need to do? We need to code every single one of those two particular patterns from these. Now, I have set these up so that the autocrafters will actually eventually take items, and that's basically what will control it. So putting in a different number of items will basically yield a different result. We need to come up with something where we can drop a certain number of items into here, and then once we choose to, we can clear the system and have it returned. Okay, what we could do is we could have something where as soon as an item falls in here, and it goes all the way down. That doesn't work. Now the problem is that we want to close this at some point, so that once we've got all our items in, which varies from module to module, then we can lock this up. But the problem with that is that we don't actually know when that's going to be and how much items, because it's going to change from one to another. This is going to get complicated, isn't it? This is going to get really complicated. So we kind of need that on a time delay that's hopefully only one block wide. Okay, rule of thumb, when you need a really strange time delay in a one block wide gap, a clock's not a bad place to start. So let's see if we can sort of work out a way for this to then activate this. That's definitely a strange clock. It's yes. And then it breaks. Excellent. That's perfect. I made a machine that breaks itself. Fantastic. Let's try again. Attempt number 2. This should work. And it breaks again. Obviously. That's okay, I might be onto something with this. So what should happen is that each time the autocrafter gets an item put in it, its actual signal changes each time, as you can see. So therefore, because we're only ever going to be using 9 items, theoretically we should be able to use this as some sort of countdown device, so that then we can have this open up for a certain period of time, but then we can close it and it should be okay. Yeah, I can see that working. Okay, so for this one, it should mean that if we modify this small circuit every single time that we have a different amount in here, it should actually work. So each one's calibrated to the items that they have. So in this case, we should have 2 items, and once we hit 2 items, then it basically powers obviously the top line and locks the hopper. So if we go 1, 2, it becomes locked, then we try to chuck more in, and it can't, which means that when we've got a water stream going over the top, those extra items won't be picked up. But I should be able to easily modify this for more items. So for instance, let's say if we wanted to have, say, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 items, so we just do something along those lines, add our extra repeater at the back here, then we can add that up, add our top line along like this. We don't even need any repeaters at the top, which is fine. And so the second that this gets to 9 items, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, We're good with 8, 9, and locked. Easy. That isn't the greatest looking redstone, but it works. Well, that actually seems to maybe work. So if I wanted that, then it ejects that one. But what if I wanted to eject all of them? Does that still work? No, it only works for the first one. Okay, well, this sort of works in a one wide form. I mean, if I were to push this button, when there's nothing in there, it reverts itself quite fine. And if I was to have items in this autocrafter and then click it, it does work, and it works consistently. Just it's a little bit janky at the start there. Weirdly enough, I think I've actually got it. So if it's empty, nothing happens, it just clicks. But if we have items in it, then I just press a button and away it works. Empties out every single item, no problems, and that's it. Okay, so final test run of this design. It's not the best design in the world, I will admit that. But we just want to see whether or not, if you have them stacked right next to each other, if there's any issues. Just make sure it's all completely identical, and now I just break it. Now I have just realized that it could potentially actually get stuck on the observer that's next to it. I should have known better. I should have known better. Okay, fine. I'll have to have them separate. Okay, now we have to just do this entire design over there. And that's it. It's fantastic. I mean, I'm kind of a bit concerned about the height though, because the height is getting pretty up there. What if, instead of running the water lines like we were planning, what if we just run gigantically big hopper lines going all the way down there? I mean, it's already a ridiculous size machine anyway. Why not go for giant hopper lines? Okay, now this part's going to be considerably fun. All that we need to do is jump back as fast as we can, and there we go. Look at that, nice gigantic hopper line, easy as pie. Whoa, 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 stay on target, stay on target. Okay, this is getting a bit. And just like that, we have in our very first lines of our brand new control system for the blocks that go in and basically program those for, what are they called? Autocrafters? Autocrafters, as long as I remember what their name is. And okay, I added a little bit of decor to it. It's, you know, not the greatest, but it is somewhat suiting to the level of this sort of build. So it's quite simple how this is going to work, if I remember which way I'm going. So I think possibly I've built these too high, and they could possibly cause some issues with these next level up that we have. We get close, we get really close on this one point here. So that's something, but I mean, it looks like it should be okay. Remembering, of course, that this isn't the only one of these columns that we're going to have. We're going to have another one over here, and another one next to it, another one next to it, another one next to it. This is a big, big machine. It needs a lot of controllers. So this is only just the beginning point. Okay, and how's that looking? Wow, that's a lot of hoppers. That's a crazy amount of hoppers. Okay, so yeah, this is a pretty nuts system. That is a monster amount of work. But it's achievable. It is achievable. It's crazy, it's mad, but it's doable. So we just need to make a few modifications next time and make this a little bit longer, because it's not long enough, apparently. And that should be enough to control those two modules there, which is fantastic. And then we have to just do it 8 more times. this is going to be a long adventure. And isn't that a thing of beauty? The spyglass is really coming into its own at this point. So guys, I hope you had a bit of fun for episode 1. And there's going to be a couple more of these, unfortunately, because yeah, this thing is just insane. That's the only word I can imagine for this. It is truly a complete monster and a danger to Minecraft life. Okay, so there's some flaws, but that's what Redstone's all about. It's not about just the having, it's not about the getting, it's about the madness in between. And I'll catch you guys, as always, in the next one. I won't wave goodbye in that direction, I'll wave goodbye in this direction, because basically, let's, okay, that's it. From now on, okay, I'm making a resolution. Because it's so dangerous to actually wave goodbye anywhere else, we're waving goodbye from now on from the pirate ship. And I'll catch you guys in the next one. Hope you enjoy.